So, you know what I mean? So we're going to open up to Genesis chapter 1. Yeah. Okay. I know. Genesis 1:14. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years." For seasons is the Hebrew word moad, and it's spelt like this. It's mem. There we go. That's a decent mem. Vav. Ayin. Dalet. Dalet. So you got 40, 6, 70, and 4. So what do we got here? 120. I'm just going to throw some different words out there, and you guys are going to start seeing the pattern. So let's go to the next verse. Let's go to verse 16. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light. And God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give them light on earth, and to govern the day and to night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, referring to the stars. So, govern is the Hebrew word mashal. So you got mem, shin. That's not a very good shin. And then lamed. So you got 40, 300, 30. So what do we got there?
What's the third one?
10. Lamed. So you have 370, which is equal to 10. So we have 10, we have 120, or 3. So this is to govern, right? This is to rule. You can't read. That's fine. So we have to govern. I don't expect you to read it. It's for me. So the first word is to govern, moad, and the second word is mashal. So you have the two. So you have Genesis right there, right? All right, now let's go to Job. Job chapter 38. Where are you, Job? There we are. Job's so full of this stuff, it's ridiculous. What is it? 38, 31. Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades or loose the cords of Orion? Can you forth a constellation in its season and guide the bear with her satellites? 31 and 32. Now, in verse 32, there's the word that they use for constellation is a Hebrew word called mazarot, or mazharot. And that one's really fun too. I'll bring it up here. So you have mem. You guys starting to see a pattern? Mem, Zayin. So 27, 205. That one was, oh yeah, I know what that one was. 13. So, Mazarot means zodiac. It's the 12 constellations in the sky. So, what's interesting is what we've learned from Dr. O. Number 13 really is, the 13 children. 13, it's really the 12 plus the 1. And even with the stars, it's the 12 plus the 1. It's the 12, and then there's the 1 that brings manifestation. The 13th is the feminine attribute that brings manifestation into the world. But this is also 4. So 4, Yod He Vav He, name of God, all of that stuff. The door, 4, Dalet. But really it's also cherubim, 4 faces, all of that. Okay, now, by the way, 3% of the Bible, of all the verses, deals with stars and constellations. So it's in the Bible, like whether it's referring to stars or constellations, 3% of the entire Bible, I think it's like 3.7%, deals with stars. So it's there. It's all there. And that's just the obvious, in-your-face, can you, the sweet influence of the Pleiades the Bible talks about as well. The Pleiades, and they talk about the 7 sisters and all these different things and the bear. And I could go into all this stuff, and if I have time, maybe I'll go into it. But each one of those things I just read in Job is fascinating. They have this vast influence with those stars scientifically that they found, but then also supernaturally and spiritually. There's some sort of doors and things that are going on there. But there are also verses that don't necessarily outright express, hey, this is what I'm talking about Orion, or I'm talking about when this star Regulus or Sirius or whatever is in this constellation, or Canis Major. But there's certain verses, once as you have the foundation for the stuff, you guys can go learn stuff on your own. When you start reading the Bible, you realize that the Bible is so much about the stars, it's ridiculous. The New Testament included, Jesus and his 12 disciples, all the stories, everything. Book of Revelation is basically, once as you know the stuff, you read the book of Revelation and it's just like, I've been lied to almost. I mean, it's so much about the stars, it's ridiculous. The 4 beasts and the 4 horses and this and that, and the 4 horses, and they're pointing to the crown because the crown is next to this horse, and it's all up in the sky. It's all up in the stars, and it's about the times and the seasons, and it's about governing. So it's about government, it's about rulership, it's about the 12 houses, or 3, it's about the Trinity, it's about the 4 faces, it's about the cherubim. Now let's go look at Melchizedek really quick. Now, the order of Melchizedek, the word for order is Dibra, and it's Dalet, Beit, Resh, and He, which comes out to it's 6, 11, 2, 1, 1, so it's 4. Which is 4 as well. So order, so for the order of Melchizedek, is 4 as well. So we're starting to see some patterns here. Now, Melchizedek's a really interesting word. The more I've spent so many hours just staring at the word and going over the word and his name and what it means and breaking it down and going through the pictures and going through the numbers and finding stuff and whatnot and looking at it from different lenses and views. And the one thing that's really stuck out to me, so let's look at the word, I'm going to break down Melchizedek. So we have a mem. Interesting, there we are again. Mem, lamed. Lamed, Kaf, Yod. So do you want to see something interesting here? Yes. 40, 30, 20, 10. Wow. Interesting, huh? Which is 100, yes. Or 10. Mem, 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 mem. 4 faces. He talks about, Ian talks about Melchizedek being the other covering cherub. Cherubs have 4 faces. So then we have Sade, Dalet. Sade is kind of fun. It's like, no, it's not a very good Sade. Hold on. Sade is like that. Like that. Sorry, that's a really bad Sade. Should start over, but I'm not going to. And what's this for? This is the second half of Melchizedek. So you have Sade, which is 9, and then 9, 4, I think Kof is what, 100, right? Yeah.
Say it again, Sade what?
Sade, Dalet, Kof. Kuf. Kuf, however you want to say it. Sade. So you have 9, 4, 100. So this is, you have 113, which is also 5. Now, this is, Melech is king, and then Sade is righteousness. Now, they also call him the king of Salem, which is the king of peace, or Shalom, which is Shin, Lamed, Mem, which comes out to whether you do a final mem or not in numerically. Either comes out to 100, so he's also the king of righteousness, so he's also the king of peace, right? So you have Shin, Lamed, and then Mem. You guys seen all these mems here?
Yes.
So then this is either 5 or 100. So you have 5 here for the second half of his name, and you have another 10. It's pretty crazy. 10 is also, so you have the order, so you have king, and then you also have to govern or to rule, which is 10. So you have 2 10s here, and you also have pieces as could possibly be 10. So what you find in the first part of Melchizedek's name, it deals with the binary principle, the 1 and the 0, the on and off. It's also the creation principle. It's what's coming into this world. It's what's being manifested. It's what's being produced. It's what is multiplying. It is what is being impregnated and birthed. Now, when I broke down the Melchizedek's name with the numbers and with some of the pictures, what I came up with was the waters coming forth. This is my interpretation of his name, or one of them. The waters coming forth to cover us in order to create. What are they coming through? The place of judgment or door. I can't read my own writing. Oh, yeah. Yes. Judgment or door. Oh, yeah. Judgment or door through the place of time. Because Kof here, Kof in its ancient picture looks like this. That's an ancient Kof. And it's the sun at the horizon. It's time. It's cyclical. It's you know, when the sun's up over the horizon, there's the sun. That's what the Kof is. And so you have the waters. Mem is also water. So it's the 4 rivers. So here you have Mem, but it's 4, it's water, it's 4. It's the 4 rivers that is being hooked into, that is being pulled. Kof, to cover, it's the wings to cover. So it's being now simulated out from the place of God, from the heavens. Through the place of the 10, the binary principle, through the matrix of this world. 9, to rule. Why? 9 is also judgment, right? Yes. So 9 is judgment. So you have Sade, which is, to hook, but it's also judgment. So these are judges or rulers. So what is it coming through? It's coming through the rulers. Times and the seasons, to govern, to rule. It's coming through those, through their doors. What? Dalet, doors. Stars are doors. Into our time. Okay. Now, what's interesting about all this, I'm going to erase a lot of this, so I'm sorry. This was just quickly, I just wanted to go over some stuff. Because I just want you guys to get an idea that there's these patterns. And there's all these mems and there's all these 4s. And even, Melchizedek, he had a 4 here, but then he had a dalet here, which is he has 2 4s in his name. And then Melchizedek, when you add up all the numbers added together, it's 6, which is also the Vav, which is the number of man, but it's also the Vav, which is the hook, which connects heaven and earth. So all this is about priesthoodship, heaven and earth. It's about the body. But it's also not. It's the dimensions and it's the heaven that we talk about. But it's also the heavens, the stars. The heavens declare your works. They share the times and the seasons. There's so many things the Bible's like. I'm about to show you guys like all this stuff, all this prophetic stuff, everything all these people are saying. I'm about to show you where it comes from. I'm going to demystify so much stuff right now. It's going to be ridiculous. It's all here. It's all here. All right, so
Here we go.
this is gonna be fun. All right, so should I, well, okay. Okay. Well, okay. So right now, I asked Ian and I asked Dr. O. I asked them, their personal opinion because as I was studying this stuff, I was like, do you think we're in the age of Aquarius? And they both said yes. They had their different opinions on when they think it started, but regardless, they both think that we're in the age of Aquarius. I personally thought we were in the age of Aquarius for certain reasons as well. My reasons are different than theirs just because we just see things differently. But we have transitioned into the age of Aquarius. And it's also why there's such a... by the way, that's why in the 60s and the 70s, there's all about the end times and the rapture and all that kind of stuff, is because there's a transition of the age. Same thing as when Jesus and everyone thought that it was the end of the world. It was the end of Aries coming into Pisces. It was the same mindset, the same thing where like people were scattered and they were like, we feel like this is the end of the world, and there's like this feeling of like this is the end, this is the end. Well, it's because you're feeling the transition of the ages, of the stars. It's the same difference. It's the same thing. That's why between pretty much like the 1300s and the late 1800s, there's no talk of the rapture, end times, none of that stuff. But all of a sudden it just starts to pop on the scene. And it's because we are transitioning into a new age. And the age of Aquarius is a very exciting age for us to be in. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit in a few, but okay, so let me talk about this really quick. So when we talk about the age of Aquarius, what's happening here, okay? So there's this thing called the precession of the equinox. And what that means is that when the Earth is on like a little wobble, and because we're on a tilt, we see the stars at a certain degree, and as the Earth wobbles over a period of 25,000, this is very important for you guys right here, okay? 24 to 26,000 years. This is also called the Great Year. If you read any ancient stuff, they talk about the Great Year all the time. The Egyptians, the Sumerians, Babylonians, even the Romans, the Greeks, the Persians, everyone talks about the Great Year. Remember when Dr. O talked about like how the Earth, the sun, it goes in rotation 25,000 years? This is what he's talking about. The Great Year. And what's interesting is that's why you can't determine the age of people in the Old Testament either. Because this was a year. Right. Our 365 days was not a year. This was 1 year. Wow. So multiply Adam's age times this. Right. Times 1,000. Find yourself an interesting number. So this is what it takes. Okay, so let's draw this really quick. All right. So here you have the equator, right? And then here you have this. This is right here. This is what you've probably heard before, the Tropic of Cancer. And this is the Tropic of Capricorn. So throughout the year, the sun goes on a path. And it goes up. This is the high point of the year. And it comes all the way down. Up and down, up and down. So here you have June 21st, which is the longest day of the year. Then you have down here December 21st, which is the shortest day of the year. And then these two dates here, March 21st, and then you have, some will say it's August 20 or September 23rd. Some will say September 21st, so it's either or. I'll just say September 21st. These 2 days are 12 and 12. They're the equal days of the year. And so as the sun is moving through here, it's moving through the 12, different zodiacs. Some people say, oh, I'm an Aries, or I'm a Pisces, and I'm a Taurus, or I'm a whatever. This is what they're talking about. This is the section that you're born in. And so up here, if you're born, June 22nd, you are a Cancer. I like to call it the scarab, because I think a scarab is a better word for it. It's kind of a crab, but it's actually more of it's a beetle. It's the Egyptian scarab, which is the symbol for immortality. And it's also the symbol for cycles, and it's about rebirth. What's interesting is they say at December 21st, the sun gets crucified and goes into the grave the 22nd through the 24th. And on the 25th, the sun starts to rise again. Interesting, huh? This is just one of many, 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 many things. So let's start getting into this now. I'm just giving you guys a basic. So they have this thing called the precession of the equinox. So every 2000 to 2000, 2000 to 2,500 years, that everyone has their different opinions on when how long each age is. So if you were to stand, right now we do it on the vernal, so the spring, or it's over here, vernal. So basically, what we say is actually it would be more like this. Sorry, the other way around, because the sun goes up March and then June 21st and then down. When we stand at the horizon on March 21st and we look up at the night sky and we say, okay, whatever the constellation or the thing that's rising up, that's how we determine what age it's in. So right now we have, some will still say that we still have Pisces rising, but really we're transitioning into Aquarius, and Aquarius is starting to rise. So you'll start to see Aquarius, but the way the stars, they go actually this way. So I'm going to show you in a second. I can explain it a lot better when I help you guys visualize this. This will help you guys a lot. Just giving you guys some good foundation here. All right. This is the Mazarot. Circle. All right, that's decent. All right, so here we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, I'm trying to blank. This one's Scorpio, sorry. Scorpio. Sagittarius. I'm not going to write that whole thing out. Capricorn. Aquarius. Pisces. So those are your 12 that you see, the scary 12. Where people are like, oh my gosh, horoscopes, so scary. Right? All right, so right here you have March 21st, Here you have the June. Then you have the September. And down here you have December. And so throughout the year we go like this. Woo, like this, right? This is an annoying one. So we come up through here. So that March, and you go into April, May, June, July, August, September, October, December, January, February. Okay? So those are the 12 months of the year. Now, right now, we're transitioning, we're like right here. We're coming into the age of Aquarius. And so at the time of Christ, he was at the age of Aries. He was at the end of the age of Aries and the beginning of Pisces. So he was the ram. Aries is a picture of a ram. So he was the ram. He was the Lamb of God slain before the foundations of the world. See these right here? These are 4 cardinal points, they call them. Cardinal, which also means door or hinge or, let's say, boundary stone. These are the 4 doors, the 4 portals right here. So right here are the 4 cardinal points. And so then as Christians, as people start following Jesus, all of a sudden they start having a symbol of a what? A fish. Even though I'm with you even to the end of the age. They were worried. End of the world. I'm with you to the end of the age. Jesus talks about it all the time. Then their symbol becomes the fish. And all the new Christians are like these new little Pisces guys. Right? Now what's interesting about the Christian symbol, the fish, is really interesting. I know Dr. O briefly talked about it at the conference. But it's when you have 2 circles that share a common radius. That's the fish. This area here is the square root of 153. Does that number look familiar to anyone? 153. I know you know, but don't say it. When Jesus comes to the after he's crucified and he's sitting on the beach with Peter, how many fish? 153. 2 circles is also 2 worlds colliding, heaven and earth colliding. It's a cylinder. So, I'm going to briefly talk about a little bit Old Testament stuff too, so just to get you an idea. The age of Taurus. This was the age in which the Israelites left Egypt. They were actually here. Yes, they were actually here. They were in between Taurus, the age of Taurus, and the age of Aries. And what's interesting is that in the age of Taurus, Taurus is the bull. Taurus is the burden bearer. He's the carrier. This is also, by the way, this is Issachar. This is Issachar. Go read, Exodus 38? I think it's Exodus 38, right? Is that the one where the blessing? I don't know, whatever one's the blessing. There's Genesis, but then there's also I think it's Exodus 38. There's a Genesis and there's an Exodus. But anyways, Issachar is considered the burden bearer. If you read his thing, it's all about the bull. By the way, this is where we're going to start getting to Order of Melchizedek. Remember when Ian was talking about it? The 4 things. You have king, priest, apostle, prophet. Here is the apostle. Paul, the burden bearer for Christ. Paul the apostle, I am a burden bearer. He's talking about this face. Here's the face of the ox and the 4 faces of the cherubim. Right here, this is the first part. The Issachar is also Reuben, or Taurus is also Reuben. And a lot of other things, but these are pretty much the main 2. But you can kind of play around with it. at the time of Egypt. So what happens when, Moses goes up into the mountain and he comes down? What do? Golden ox, golden calf. The reason they called it that face of the cherubim is because they were in that age and they were transitioning out. And Moses gets pissed because he's like, guys, we're not living in the past anymore. We're moving into the future. This is why they did that. They were in the age of this. You can look it up. You can see the time. This is all right here. Crazy.
That's why. They just didn't pick it up.
So here, this is all, yeah, so here, just to kind of have some fun, this is red, okay? This is red, Aries is red. This whole area is known as the red. So if you see people like, you're so red, you can actually, if you know what the attributes of these things are, you can actually start to break it down and see what you're dominant in when they take a picture of you. You can look it up. So, and then here you have blue. So here, you have red and blue. How about this? The Red Sea. Crossing of the Red Sea. Here is where they celebrate Passover. This is where the Jews celebrate Passover. By the way, Libra is the scales. It's a picture of the scales. This has to do with judgment. This is where Rosh Hashanah, the day of judgment. This is the day, September coming here at this cardinal point is when they say when the sun goes into judgment. This is when Christ went down into judgment. So this has to do with judgment. Virgo, the virgin. Mary, the virgin. By the way, you know why we celebrate Jesus' birthday on December 25th, besides I just showed you the Son of God being born, right? The Christ, the Son. So December 25th. That's why they chose 25, I think, by the way. But also, so they say Christ was conceived here. So this is 9 months. And they say that John the Baptist was conceived here. Judgment. And then he was born here. He brought the message of what? Immortality. He paved the way for the message of immortality, about rebirth. So, what does it say? John says, I must descend so that Christ must ascend. This is about the sun being raised. So you have Leo. Leo the lion. Right? Leos are interesting. Here we have Judah. And then I'm trying to remember what the other one is. Judah and I know this one. Oh yeah, Simeon. Simeon. By the way, how I'm getting these, just so you guys know. The start of the age. So you have two different main, there's a lot of different interpretations of which tribes are which, but there's two main fields of thought. And depending on what you want to do with the Zodiac, you can use both. But this is the age in which the Old Testament was written. So you start with the birth order here. So Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, the lion of the tribe of Judah, Leo, the lion. And then also they have the other one is the other order that they have it in is by encampment. And so depending on who's north, south, east and west, that's how they also determine. So Reuben, this one here is the start of the age, and then due to encampment, Issachar's here. And what's interesting is in the encampment one, Levi's taken out. And Levi becomes the 13th principle, the birthing the priests. So you have Judah. By the way, the kingship. And you also have the face of the lion. So right now we have the lion, the ox, and you have the king. So you have a king and you have an apostle. You know, they always talk about, you know, oh, if you want to, you know, the greatest, if you really want to be an apostle, you must serve. That's true, because it's the bull, the ox. The ox serves. It's the burden bearer, it's the carrier. And what does it do? You serve your way to kingship. But if you just skip all the way to kingship, you don't have this face. And that's why I have a lot of people that are saying they're apostles, but really they're just functioning as a king. I'm the head of my domain, of my ministry. Here I am. This is it. Okay, so down here we have the age of Aquarius. This is also a picture of a man with a water pitcher. Does that sound familiar in the New Testament? Is anyone ringing a bell? Man with the water pitcher? Before they went and had their Last Supper, you're going to see a man with a water pitcher. Preparation. I'm just showing you. Okay, so you have the age of Aquarius. It's a man with a water bucket. You know, it's a guy, and he's pouring out the water. He's pouring out the Spirit. What happened? The Spirit was going to get poured out after Christ was crucified. Pentecost. This is the age we're coming into. But what's interesting now, I'm going to start to show you why this Melchizedek thing is starting to get a little bit trendy. I'm serious, it's getting a little bit trendy right now. And a lot of people don't know why it's even getting trendy. And people are just talking about the Order of Melchizedek. But they don't even know what the heck they're even talking about. Here's the priest. This is the priest. Aquarius, the man with the water. Cleansing. All of that. This here is really interesting, because here you start to have the sun ascending, starting to ascend. But what is it? But it's also in the lower half. So as a priest, you're ascending up to God, but you're also in the dark place, in the quiet place. And you're also when you're doing stuff in the heavens, you're going inside. Is all right here. And in order to be an apostle, you can't be an apostle without being a priest. And this is also the picture of what? A man. So here you have three of the faces: ox, lion, man. Also, and when you start to study this stuff, what you'll start to notice, or what you'll start to learn, is that opposites are very, very important. So the opposite of, an Aries is a Libra, and they attract each other, and they always counterbalance each other. It's like the yin and yang. It's the one and two. You need one without the other. It's very important. And so you have the priest and you have the king. Priest, king. Melchizedek. We're coming into the age of Melchizedek. The birthing of Melchizedek, the birthing of that stuff becoming more and more apparent in our time and in our season. This is the priest king. This is why it's starting to get, quote unquote, a little bit more trendy. But people don't know why. Because, now I'm going to kind of skip ahead right now. What happens is there's certain energy that gets released from the stars, and there's certain frequencies, and as this Earth and as our solar system is moving into a different place in the universe and in the galaxy, we're starting to receive these signals. And we're receiving them subconsciously, and they're becoming up. And this is the stuff, as our solar system is moving into this galactic sphere, all this stuff has happened. Like, there's crazy stuff going on in our solar system right now. I'm going to share a little bit. But all of that is we are coming into this time. Which also, by the way, I should probably share this too. So, this is Earth, the four elements, right? Earth, air, water, fire. Why is it earth, air, water, fire? Genesis chapter 1. And the earth was formless and void. And the Spirit of the Lord was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. This is actually why the occultists use this, is because they take the order that was in Genesis 1. And they give this earth here because this is the start of the age. And so you have earth, air, water, fire, and it just keeps going. Earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire. They went from fire, judgment, Christ brought upon the judgment of the world, into water, water, fish. Now we're coming into air, which is really interesting. Or spirit, you could say. All of a sudden, there's just a new rise in spirituality in the 60s. So you have earth, air, water, fire. You know, people say, oh, I'm an earth sign, I'm a water sign, I'm a fire sign. This is what they're talking about. Right? See, I'm actually a Taurus. I was born in April 25th. And so it's a car. One of their things is not only they're a burden bearer, but if you read, they're also the teller of the times. They were the star people. They shared the interpretation of the stars and the times and seasons. So right now, this is super easy for me. Me learning all of this stuff was it was the easiest thing I've ever learned. It made so much sense. It was beyond click. I was like, oh yeah, this is me. This was already inside me. And so I'm actually operating right now in this. So you guys are actually witnessing me in my element. I guess you could say one of my elements, I should say. This one was already turned on inside of me. I need to turn them all on, but I was sovereignly given this as a turn on being born. Because, by the way, okay, I'll get to that I'll start it now. The symbol for the sun in all of this is this. Sonship.
Not S-U-N, S-O-N.
S-O-N and S-U-N. Sonship. We talk about coming into sonship. Stepping into all of it, as well as the manifestation principle. By the way, you'll start, I don't even want to, you can see all the symbols and all the stuff that corporate America has taken. It's ridiculous, all of it. So here you have Scorpio, the scorpion, or Danite DNA, the reptilian seed, or the serpent seed, the seed that's bringing destruction. Here, this was Dan, but also Scorpio's not all that bad. Actually, I'll show you in a second. But it's also Manasseh. Before it was Scorpio, before they took that as a picture of a scorpion, it was actually an eagle. The face of an eagle. That was the original constellation picture as an eagle. So here you have the eagle. And what are we missing here? The prophet. So you have the lion. So you have the ox, the lion, eagle, man, lox, iron, eagle, man, lox, ox, iron, lion, eagle, man. Here you have the four faces of the cherubim right here in the stars. All right here. It's speaking to us every single day, saying, I'm here. Four faces. So you have the eagle, the prophet. The prophet is interesting because what does the prophet do? The prophet, a lot of times in the Old Testament, brought judgment, words of judgment, as the sun's coming down into judgment. But then, this is the transition into life. So the prophets bring words into life. And they can also see the cycle of how to get to the top of where you're supposed to be. And the prophet goes into the dark places as well, into the quiet places. And they bring words of truth and they bring words of justice. But they don't just see, they are in this place. They understand this part of the heart of God. but they also see the encompassing of everything else. I mean, when people are really walking in as a prophet, I don't know what, it's so heavy. This is so heavy. And this is also water, the prophet's water, which is really interesting. So you have earth, fire, water, air. Those are also the four faces, which with their things. The water is interesting because water, what happens when you speak to your water, when you prophesy over your body, when you prophesy over people, over the water, things happen, things change. And right now, because we're in the age of Aquarius, this is Reuben. So actually, this is Reuben right now. So what happened in the 60s? The sexual revolution, all the sex, Reuben, sexual stuff, coming to the age of Aquarius, all the mainstream media stuff, sex, pornography, everything. We're in this huge time of just sexual exploitation. Because Reuben's here. Reuben's in Aquarius. The water is coming over that. And so right now, that is the area in life in which it is so apparent in every single person that we're faced with it every single day. Billboards, TV, turn on anything. If you're not connected to society, that's great because you won't know. But then maybe again, you probably are feeling it. So, and then you also have, what are we having in the Catholic Church? Sexual priest problems. I'm just demystifying everything. I'm just telling you this is why things are happening in the world. Okay, so you have. All right, so you have the priests. So right now you have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. This is according to birth order right now. Because you change now the birth order according to the age in which you're in. And you can really see what things are being judged. Now, right now, Dan is here. Dan's in fire. DNA cleansing. Dan, DNA. Dan, reptilian seed, all the stuff that Ian talks about, being judged. Seraphim, fire. This is all the stuff that everyone's talking about learning. Here it is. So you have Dan being judged right now in our time. You have Levi, the priest, being judged. We're coming into a new priestship. Not one by works, but a heavenly priesthood. Yeah. So Levi's being judged in Aries. We also have Joseph being judged, which is really interesting. Joseph is here, just so you guys, he's in Sagittarius.
So you're saying the 12 of the birth order, so they're around each.
Yeah, so this is according to birth order. So Joseph is being judged. Joseph, we just learned about Joseph. Joseph is about overcoming, not wanting to be burden bearer. Joseph is about overcoming sexual temptation. Joseph is about, it's also about the Order of Melchizedek, being as a priest and a king. So you have these three fire signs that are happening right now. So you have all these things that are coming into judgment. But then at the same time, to balance out the fire, you also have water. So you have Simeon, Issachar, and Naphtali. In Pisces, in Cancer, and in Scorpio. that are all in water right now. So what's interesting is if you take those, I'm not going to really go into that, but if you actually counterbalance them both out, you can see that, this is why the teaching Dr. O just did with us was amazing with the 12 tribes. Because what he was doing was he was giving us a foundation so that when we start decoding things, he already knows all this stuff. He just hasn't really started teaching it yet. He already knows all this stuff. When we start to realize what we're in, we can start to deal with all of our stuff. And so, Simeon, mouth speaking, anger, overcoming anger. There's a lot of things coming on right now with people shooting and killing people. That's another reason. I'll show you another reason why all that stuff's happening. All this stuff is coming. Issachar, time. So we have time coming in. We're going to realize we can manipulate time. We already know we're learning. We've been learning since the 60s that we can manipulate time. Authority over time. Naphtali, which is words or rustling. It's about rustling the serpent seed. Naphtali and Dan are always, they're opposites of each other. And so it's overcoming that seed. And so literally each one of those shows you how to overcome each one of those things. But really it's about your words. It's about coming into peace. And it's about becoming a master of time. Learning. Also, when you look. I was born here. Oh, it's all right. I was born here. And look up your stuff. See what's going on. See which thing you're in. Look to see what tribe. Look to see what's turned on, what's turned off. I can spin every single thing in a positive and a negative. Capricorn is the goat. And we know sheep and goat nations is negative. But what's interesting is Capricorn, what do goats do? Goats go into high places. High places in the mountain. This is about rulership as well. So you have rulership up here, rulership down here. The servant of all. So you have down here, you have the priest and the prophet. Up here, you have the king, I'll say apostle, and you have the king. And then you have the other one down here, the four pillars. By the way, judgment, what are his two pillars in his throne? Judgment and righteousness. Here they are, the two pillars. A wheel within a wheel within a wheel. You can play around with this. So, you have all this stuff that's coming in with Order of Melchizedek right now. And I want to talk about a little bit of that right now because I think it is important, just very, very briefly. But the Order of Melchizedek being an heir, what is heir? Heir is mutable. Okay, this is really interesting too. By the way, this is fixed. This is fixed. Oh, come on. I know that this is, I'm trying to blink. This is, oh yeah, there we go. Cardinal, yeah. So this is cardinal. This is the cardinal points I was telling you about. This is cardinal. This is fixed, mutable. Why is this fixed? These are the seasons. This is when spring is spring. Cardinal, coming into a door, coming into a new place. Mutable. This is when you can't really tell whether it's spring or it's starting to come into summer. So you'll start to see all this stuff when you start researching. So I'm trying to give you guys a good foundation for you to learn on your own. So here, you have a fixed position, which is really interesting. This is going to be, we're fixed, but we're also air. And then we're also water, which is just crazy and pre-ship. But then up here, you also have fire, and you also have kingship. So you have the priest and the king. And we're coming through fire. We're coming through judgment. We're coming through change, DNA change. all this stuff that's being released in our generation and in our time. Then we have the precip in air. Air also is, it's about brooding. The Spirit of the Lord was brooding over the face of the deep, all this brooding stuff. But it's also about air is mutable. You can do things with it, but it's also unpredictable. We're coming into a time of unpredictability. Fixed unpredictability. You can guarantee it's going to be unpredictable. But then the unpredictable, because you know this, becomes predictable because it's fixed. It's a total paradox. But then you also have water, which is our waters, and dealing with our sexual energy and dealing with our bodies and a lot of these things that are going to be changed in this next 2,000 years. And by the way, when you start to learn about all this stuff, you start to realize in the ages and everything, and you read Revelation, all that kind of stuff, you realize we got a long ways to go. But this is a very interesting age for us to be living in because we do have a lot of potential. We can all agree. It feels like there's something being birthed in like this underground charismatic movement in America, even though, you know what I mean? But the Order of Melchizedek has been, they've been talking about it. Abraham knew about it. David talked about it. It's in the book of Hebrews. But it's going to become more and more and more and more and more and more and more. You're going to see conferences, the Order of Melchizedek conference. You're going to see this and you're going to see that. But Melchizedek. 4. Judgment, ruler, stars. 10. This is also operating in the Order of Melchizedek, understanding the times and the seasons. And knowing the Zodiac, the Mazarot. This is also part of the Order of Melchizedek because you have the 4 rivers that come in and flow. By the way, I love Halloween. I love Halloween. It is absolutely one of my favorite days of the entire year. I drive around and I see all the scary skeletons and all that stuff. I just laugh my head off. Because what it's doing is they're trying to put up fake dolls to guard away into something that's happening on that day. Why do you think they get everyone so excited and going trick-or-treating and building up all this energy? So the occult does all these little sacrifices and they do all this stuff because on that day, I don't know why, but on that day, every single year, there's something that happens where the stars and the moon and all this stuff that lines up that they say that has the thinnest veil between heaven and earth. The supernatural and the natural. That should be the day Christians get together and have massive conferences, doing stuff, praying, doing all that kind of, like literally, it's ridiculous. Like I had the best Halloween. I got super drunk in the spirit. I meditated. I hung out with God. I, had a great dinner with my family. Kids came to my door. I gave them candy. I was super nice to them and played around. But Halloween is a very, very interesting day. And the occult takes all that energy from the people and they manipulate it and they take it for their power. And I don't feel sick. I don't feel slimed. I don't feel anything. I literally wake up and I'm like, great day. Or Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. Why do they celebrate it on that day? Because it's the thinnest day. They know. By the way, here you have a lot of Jewish holidays. Here you have a lot of Jewish holidays. This is about coming into purity and judgment, becoming a virgin, coming your sins cleaned. Also, these are the 12 disciples. Judas. Scorpion, the back stung from behind. What did he do? By the way, this is 30 days. He sold Christ for 30 pieces of silver. Also, should I do this? I'm going to do this. I'm kind of giving away a little bit too much right now, but that's okay. Does this look familiar to anyone? The cross of the Knights Templar. You see that everywhere. Or Celtic crosses. And what's also interesting about the Celtic cross, what? They also have a line and a circle. And then that symbol. They're all pointing at it. Here you have the cross. One other one too. You don't have to do this in a circle, by the way. When you do this in a square, what do you find? I have to draw this right, because then it looks good. And then you're like, whoa. That's fine. Oh, God, help me. Okay, can kind of barely see it, but it's a cube. It's a cube. This is the cube. This is the matrix of reality coming in through the stars. The rivers, the four rivers coming into Eden, coming into the earth, the one and the zero, the binary principle. Melchizedek, Mem, four faces of God, the cherubim coming from the throne, coming in through the stars. Let's see if there's anything else, just really quick. I'm pretty sure that's all I want to say about that really thing, but I want to share one other thing that's going to be really good. Couple more minutes? Okay, and then we're done.
We can always ask questions later, but we have to take care of the official.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, one last thing. Okay, I'm going to erase this, because this is actually really important. I've kind of been leading up to this. Okay. I'm going to... Okay. Can you guys read that? Iron, bronze, silver, gold. What most of the world doesn't know, I'm going to be sharing this, is that our sun is actually in a binary star system. And a lot of scientists say that the precession of the equinox is due to the sun and to the moon, but that science is falling apart because there's too many variables and too many things that are not proving it. And what they're finding is that we actually are part of a binary star system. And I know that we're part of a binary star system. We are. We're actually in a, because I have to do this quickly. We're in a binary star system with the star Sirius. So the star Sirius is actually in the constellations. It's at the nose of the constellation called Canis Major, which is a picture of a dog. What does a dog do? Follows his master. Dog obeys. He follows and does every single thing that he's supposed to do. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. There's so many different things when Sirius is when there was this one thing where when Sirius was lined up with Earth on this one specific day, we actually lost, some amount of time, then we gained amount of time. There's all this electromagnetic things that are happening with us in Sirius that they're starting to find out. And they're starting to realize that this is actually the great year. This is what causes the great year. Now, why is this important? This is very important because in Daniel chapter 2, there's a picture that Daniel, the king, has a dream. The guy had a gold head, silver arms, bronze legs, iron feet, or as clay. He's talking about the 4 ages, and he talks about there's 4 descending kingdoms. So what was happening during that time? Okay, so really quick, right now, we've just transitioned from the iron into the bronze. We transitioned into the bronze probably around the 1600s. It's a really big deal. This is a huge deal. Time of Christ was about here, the bottom of humanity. Absolute bottom of the bottom. Sirius, before 500 AD, was known as the Red Star. All of the ancient cultures called it the Red Star. According to the Doppler effect, what does that mean? That means when a star is moving away from us, it has the color red. But since 500 AD, when you look up in the night sky, it's the blue star. It's moving towards us. Since 500 AD, we've been rapidly becoming closer to our binary star. Here's what's interesting. Sirius already is a binary. It has Sirius A, Sirius B. Excuse me. Egyptians, oh God, all the ancient cultures talk about Sirius. They talk about us being in a binary star system with Sirius. And they knew that one Sirius B was this giant, basically diamond. They talk about it being like this crystal. Anyways, it's crazy what they knew. Sorry, just totally blanked. Okay, so we're Sirius. We're coming into the Bronze Age. Okay, so in Daniel chapter 2, the 4 descending kingdoms. And the king is so distraught, and he's like, oh my gosh, so humanity is going to reach rock bottom. But then at the bottom, what does Daniel say? But then an everlasting kingdom gets established. He's talking about when Christ comes. And then all of a sudden, he then reverses it. This is all Daniel's talking about. He's talking about this descending ages. We've all heard of the iron, bronze, silver, gold age. The Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians. Everyone talks about the 4 ages of humanity. These are the 4 ages. The Hindus talk about it. The Kali Yoga, the Kali this, Kali this, Kali that, Kali this. Okay? What's really, really interesting, which is really important, with Sirius and with us and this binary star system. Oh yeah, so Sirius already has 2 stars. So right now, our Earth is actually going around 3 stars. 3 and 1. Trinity. But what's interesting is right now our solar system is moving through a place where, let me read this really, really quick. I'm going as fast as I can here because this is really important. The Russians have looked at the leading edge of the heliosphere, which is the edge of our solar system, and they have observed glowing, excited plasma energy. The plasma energy used to be 10 astronomical units deep. So 10 astronomical units deep represents the normal thickness of the glowing energy that we're used to seeing at the front of the solar system. Today, that glowing plasma has gone to 100 astronomical units deep. That's 1,000% increase in the overall brightness of the energy of the front of the solar system. And this means that the solar system itself is moving into an area where the energy is more highly charged. The higher charged energy is in turn exciting the plasma and causing more of it to form. So you see more luminosity, more brightness. This energy is flowing into the sun, which in turn emits the energy and spreads it along the equatorial plane, which is called the ecliptic. Then in turn is saturating interplanetary space, which causes the solar emissions to travel more quickly and charge up the energy on the planets. We're seeing all the planets are changing right now. And this energy is what's causing all this stuff that I was talking to you about coming to the age of Aquarius. Now, with all this in the age of Aquarius, what's happening right now? What happened at the bottom of the Iron Age? We have the Dark Ages where all the knowledge was lost. All of the ancient knowledge was lost. All of these cultures went into decline. All of a sudden you see the Egyptians, you're like, wow, look at the crazy pyramids. And all of a sudden you see, wow, culture went into a crazy decline. This is it. And now all of a sudden we all know we're rising. And we all know we've been rising from probably around, and here is supposedly 1700s, which is when the Age of Enlightenment happened. And all this increased energy and all this stuff is increasing spirituality, it's increasing knowledge, it's increasing awareness, it's causing DNA change. All this stuff, I read this study where they took a lot of this energy and they put this like antenna on people's heads, and they said they experienced their consciousness was expanding and they were solving problems within seconds they couldn't do without it. That we're coming into this time. This is why we have all this stuff increasing, all this knowledge increasing, all of this spirituality is increasing. Even in the church, this is why I'm cracking up with all the stuff that's happening in the church right now. It's hilarious to me. People are like being stubborn and like, John MacArthur and all these different people that are anti-spiritual, whatever. That's going to be so done in 50 years. All that stuff in 100 years is going to be so outdated. It's going to be ridiculous. Because all the stuff that's coming into our solar system and into our galaxy, or into our solar system, is absolutely ridiculous. The influence from the stars, from the Pleiades especially, and this that we're coming through as we're coming closer to Sirius, because Sirius has a magnetic effect on us. And this magnetic effect is changing our consciousness, and it's causing us to be more aware, more awake. And as we get here, we come into the Bronze Age, or Silver Age, and the Gold Age. I'm just going to say this now. When we get to this point, humanity's going to have a decision. This is going to be one of the most pivotal times in history in about 8,000 years. Because we're going to have to decide whether or not we decline or we just continue to increase. And this no longer affects us. Because we keep choosing this. And so right now we're back on the road back up. We're on the road back up. So you have Christ coming, the bottom of time. And you have knowledge increasing, spirituality increasing. Yoga and all this Eastern stuff is getting so trending, all this stuff. It's because of all the energy that's coming in. All this stuff that's coming in is waking people up. Drugs and all these things that are waking people, awareness of all this stuff is coming here. And it's because we're coming into this, but at the same time, we're still babies. And there's still so much for us to learn. There's still so much to understand. We're still in this limbo state between the natural and the supernatural. We're still in this limbo state, but that's what's beautiful is God timed it for us to be in the age of the priest and this limbo state so that we can learn about all this stuff. He's like increased it for us. It's like he's saying, yes, I understand that you guys are in this time, but for the next 2,000 years, you guys are going to be experiencing increased supernatural stuff, increased understanding. All this supernatural stuff in Bethel, all these different things are all because of this. All the increase in miracles, everything that's happening, all these big prophets, all this stuff is an increase of this because we're getting closer to this. And it's all going to start happening in our lives more and more and more. In the next decade, next 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to be ridiculous. And right, yes, there are going to be things going on in the earth or whatever, but it doesn't really matter because God has us on a long plan. This is why I'm not worried about whatever. And, people are going to be so much more aware. Oh, and also, here, this is really important too. This says that there was the seed. The seed couldn't be mixed. The seed was trying to be mixed with clay and with iron. I did a bunch of study on extraterrestrials among tribal peoples prior to the Industrial Revolution for one of my anthropology classes in university. And here, in this time period, there is no sightings of ETs. Here, yes. Here, none. But all of a sudden, they start coming along. As the energy starts to increase, the doors are going to start opening up in the supernatural. The planets are going to start opening up. The doors are going to start opening up. All these things that are coming into our earth right now are coming because of all this stuff that's happening. And this is why we're seeing an increase of it, an awareness of it. And the seed could not mingle in this time. The seed did not mingle. There was no aliens or whatever. Nothing, like, because we look at all the antiquity and we're like, oh, well, there's nothing really crazy happened. But the Egyptians, they kind of have some weird stories, and so do the Sumerians. And they've kind of have these weird being stories, and so do the Incans, and so do the Mayans. But nothing really happened in this main western part of history. Because the doors were shut. The energy they could not come in. But now the doors are opening. And this is why we're seeing an increase of this all over the earth. And we're going to see an increase of it more and more and more and more. We're going to see more and more intense things happening. But this is why we're coming into the priest. This is why we need to be in the Order of Melchizedek. So that we can stand in the four faces of God, to create, stand at the stars and declare the works and the majesty of God, to declare what's going to happen on earth. Go in the different 12 houses that are there. Go up into space and see the 12 different houses. Go up and see the mem, the water bear. It's all here. Anyways, Lord, thank you. You're awesome. Thank you. And yeah, so Lord, we just bless everyone here. We just thank you for demystifying what's happening on in our world. We thank you for giving us understanding and clarity on why all these things are happening. And we just thank you for what you are now going to be doing for us in the future. And we thank you for the increase that you're bringing onto humanity. Thank you that we're here on the ascend and not the descend. Thank you that we are going to be here to become priests and kings and step into all four faces of the Godhead. And we just thank you, Lord. We praise you and we thank you and we just bless everyone here and let them just have a wonderful day. Amen.
We thank you before everyone runs
If you
out
want.
the door. We still have our offering, tithes and offerings to do. We thank you so much, Taylor. I know for some, it's a lot of information,
Yeah.
but it's so interesting, you know. And the word tells us is that my people perish for lack of knowledge of me and my ways. And so many times we don't have the knowledge and understanding of God. And as Dr. O says, is that we're all understanding more better than the children of God, and we're the ones should understand. So thank you. And really, I think we for time, and I was going to say, just to honor the time in this house, you know, because we didn't know me out by 12:30, that we could officially dismiss anyone that wanted to stay around to hear me continue to share a question. We could do that, but I wanted just to honor the time that we have. And I know you had to go so fast, I'm saying, let him breathe. Let him breathe. Well, I'll stick around for a little bit. Yeah, okay. And so we have our offering plate here for everyone to give into the offering. And we will begin again, like to just bless you and thank you for coming out. And we do have food over 4 devotions. Amen. So thank you so much for coming today.
Great job, sir. So